Hot take, but summer is definitely the most difficult season to get dressed for. You have so many different factors to take into consideration, yet such a limited amount of clothing pieces that will still keep you somewhat cool and dry. So, in today's video, we're going to be breaking down how to elevate said basics in a way that screams old money, but still is very practical and efficient at keeping you dry and cool. Starting off strong at number one, we have silhouettes. And one of the things that I think that draws a lot of people to the more quote unquote old money aesthetic is the idea of timelessness and the lack of reliance on trends. And I think one way that this is established is through having legacy or heritage silhouettes. It's all about balance. Nothing is extreme, no extreme oversize, no extreme tight or form fitting. Balance, balance, balance. So let's begin with the A line sundress. It's historically nipped a bit at the waist, so there is some waist emphasis with a flowing skirt. And it's just perfect for those more garden luncheon aesthetic or tennis club tees that I think people are very drawn to. It's very much more of that traditionally feminine, very kind of cutesy, dainty, Audrey Hepburn esque styling, where there's again more of that waist emphasis with a very beautiful, flowy, usually fuller skirt. Next, we have those tailored wide leg trousers paired into a tucked silk blouse, which gives a very crisp, clean, and quiet power vibe and look. So I think with that, it's more of a casual, everyday, still a bit elevated, but again with a looser silhouette, and pants make it a little bit more casual. Then there's the box blazer over a mini shift dress, which is very effortless but a bit edgy. And if that's kind of more your style, it feels a bit more youthful, a little bit more rebellious. And then alternatively, you can go full Grace Kelly with a cinched waist, bantu neckline, full midi skirt that sways with intention, or a wrap linen dress. I love wrap dresses. I feel like they are so easy breezy, a complete outfit that you can just throw on without having to do too much work. But since you have the wrap detail, it adds some level of interest, texture, while also emphasizing the waist and giving a more defined silhouette. The main point I want to drive home with this section regarding silhouettes is that it's so important to have different pieces you can mix and match with. So, say a more fitted maxi or midi skirt and a more A-line full midi skirt. And then you can mix and match with so many different tops to create different types of silhouettes. Of course, when it comes to the more elevated chic, quote unquote old money, it's important to keep balance in mind. So always make sure to balance out the visual quote unquote weight of a silhouette to make sure it doesn't look lopsided, so to speak. But just as long as you're not too over exaggerated one way or another, you can really have a lot of fun with silhouettes. Of course, dresses are great for this too, but when it comes to versatility within a closet or a wardrobe, it's a lot easier to mix and match with separate pieces rather than a dress. But of course, it's doable, say with a cropped jacket or a blazer that also plays with the silhouette of the dress, depending on how flowy or more tailored the dress is. So, again, it's all up to you and what your personal preferences are. But when it comes to elevating basics, changing up the silhouettes is extremely important. Up next, we have the importance of natural fibers, and I'm sure you all have heard this recommendation as it's been making the rounds on social media. And for those who haven't, I'll just reiterate that it's so important to check the garment label and make sure that your items are 100% cotton, 100% linen, or 100% silk for summertime ease. This helps you stay dry, stay cool, and overall is just really beneficial for any skin sensitivities, the environment, and the longevity of the item in your wardrobe. But beyond that, I want to dig a little bit deeper and talk about the differences in weave and in composition of certain fabrics that makes a difference in how the item falls, how the item moves. So, for example, of course, you can have cotton 100% cotton denim jeans, but denim jeans are quite thick. But then you can have 100% cotton t shirt or blouse or one of these lace kind of pirate esque, peasant esque blouses. But those are thinner and more breathable and movable. So the way the fabric is woven makes a big difference in how weighted it is, how breathable it is, and how it feels and moves in relation to your body. So it's very important to keep those things in mind. I love these more lace eyelet tops and dresses and skirts even. I think it's so beautiful, it's so chic, and it's a great way to add texture and therefore visual interest to an otherwise maybe monochromatic outfit. And I think adding that subtle texture is the best way to keep summer outfits interesting while also not necessarily having to add any more weight or layering that may make you feel more hot and sweaty, which we're obviously trying to avoid. But even beyond that, the lace, the eyelet is very classy, very timeless, very beautiful, and will always be a pillar in your summer wardrobe. Up next, we have interesting neckline and sleeves. And this is super important because while it does affect the silhouette and balance of your outfit, it also just makes a simple top or bottom more fun and interesting and visually stimulating. For example, instead of just having a basic, typical crew neck white t shirt, you can have a v neck white shirt with puff sleeves. And while both are still basic, one is a little bit more elevated. It has detail, it has texture, it has volume, and therefore creates more visual interest. So, when we talk about translating basics into elevated, everyday chic outfits, that's really what's more important. Just making that next level leap into more interesting everyday basics. So it's all about the details, it's all about how you style the outfit, but also what type of basics speak to you. Not everyone is into puff sleeves, and that's totally fine. So maybe you like more of a bell shaped sleeve, or maybe you like just a longer sleeve, and then you can style it by cuffing it. And that cuff or the popping of the collar or doing something interesting with the collar, maybe layering a necklace over it. These small details make the basic become more elevated and more intentional and more stylish. And that's what that old money vibe gives. It gives that level of crispness, intentionality. Up next, we have mastering the art of summer layering. And this is somewhat of a controversial one because when you're hot and sticky, the last thing you want to do is think about layering. But I feel like I've been more and more gravitated to Pinterest photos of summer outfits with a really thin, loose knit cardigan or sweater. I just think it adds such a fun texture that really reminds me of a fisherman's net when they catch fish. And something about that really speaks to me. Again, I like the texture. I like how loose the knit is. I like how thin it is while still, providing somewhat of shade and protection from the sun. It also is really breathable since it's so loosely knit. But I feel like these type of layering techniques can really bring an outfit to the next level because you're adding that texture. A lot of times they'll have these really voluminous bell sleeves that also add some interest and some volume and a different a difference in silhouette as well. So there's a lot of ways that you can have fun and play with this. Also, the cardigans that are more cropped, a lighter color, and sometimes also loosely knit are a really great way to add some interest and some texture again to an outfit. But also a lot of times they have those really cute, dainty, like tie closure details that I think are really fun, really cutesy, and again, add some levels of detail and intentionality that make the outfit feel really elevated from just a basic tube top with skirt. I just think once you add that cardigan, once you add that detail, that texture, it just adds this total breath of fresh air and new life into the outfit. Up next, we have accessories. And this is kind of obvious, but it's still super important because, again, I think it really adds so much visual interest to an outfit. Whether it be the straw hat, a silk scarf covering your head or your neck, some fun jewelry, or some dainty jewelry, depending on your style and your vibe, or just a really cute straw bag or any sort of bag that feels more summer, whether it be white, blue, cream, etc. Something that's very summery, very you, very interesting. Of course, a beautiful pair of sunnies is a must, but it's really important, I think, especially in summer, to really hone in on accessories because these not only serve a very functional and practical purpose, i.e., sun protection, but also they're really fun ways and funky ways to kind of add some flair and personality. Last but certainly not least, we have summer color palette. And again, I feel like this is important for that versatility factor that I discussed earlier. I think one thing that Old Money does really well is that they are able to mix and match a lot of their pieces quite seamlessly because they understand their more muted neutral color palette. And although some of us may gravitate, toward that color palette, maybe others don't. And I really want to encourage you to find your own signature wardrobe color palette specifically for summer. It doesn't have to be muted, it can be bright and colorful, but you need to understand color theory enough to understand the undertones because one red is not the same as another red, one blue is not the same as another blue. They have different undertones, different hues, etc. So, once you understand color theory and are able to establish your wardrobe color palette, then it's easy to mix and match no matter what your style or your vibe or what colors you're attracted to are because you understand what goes with what. So, specifically with the Old Money style, I would say sticking to white, beiges, creams, earthy tones, etc., are really the key to mastering this look. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Please let me know down in the comments below what you're excited to wear this summer. What are your signature wardrobe color palette colors? And if you want a video on how to piece by piece, item by item dress for summer in the Old Money aesthetic. Thank you so much for watching until the end of the video. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.